Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. We've got Thunder in Dallas, Texas, and we're going to talk about, natural occurrences in earthquakes, the increase in earthquakes, the increase in storms around the world. Right now, as we speak, typhoon is in the Philippines that's making the Florence storm in the Carolinas look like a spring shower. There's a debate, as Thunder was saying, over global warming. So we're going to talk about what we can do about it and how it's changing our lives right now.
Well, thank you, Marty. Yes, let's look at, let's start this off. Let's look at what I feel a lot of the earthquakes that are happening here. I believe there are two reasons. There's a lot of fracking going on, and if listeners here are not familiar with, what exactly fracking means, what that is dumping high pressure water into the ground and then off-gassing, forcing the gas pockets, to break loose and surface up so that they can reclaim the natural gas that way. And when we've got 20 fracking stations in, say, a 10-mile area, they're seeing uncommon earthquakes that are occurring that they never have before. Another thing about the earthquakes out there with the Richter system that we have today, Marty, they've downplayed this a full point. So let's say the 1908 earthquake that happened in San Francisco there, which I believe was a 9.2, they've today that would be considered an 8.2. And I think the reason they did this, they had to lower this, is because they were looking at statistics, and there was this large surge in earthquake activity that was occurring on a higher scale globally than we've ever seen before. The other reason I feel that we're watching these earthquakes out in the oceans, for instance, if you haven't seen this, it's kind of cool, but we're not sure if it's really a good idea yet. And that's over there in like Dubai. Dubai has they're making islands over there by sucking sand off the ocean floor and then piling it up on shorelines there to make these little man-made islands. They're creating more oceanfront property, so to speak.
Right.
Well, when you start pulling sand off the bottom, let's go make sandcastles at the beach, for instance. When you start pulling sand and the tide rises up, that one side of your sandcastle is going to collapse because there's you got your moat around your sandcastle, you got that water area. And I think when we start pulling large amounts of sand off our ocean floor, that the continent's got to give. They're obviously weaker, and they're going to start sliding back and forth on the coastlines. We also are looking at these storms up in Yellowstone National Park. Of course, there is a super volcano up there that is destined to blow roughly every 600,000 years. Every 60,000 years, and it has been about 75,000 since the last eruption. So we got earth changes that are happening. Fracking, pulling sand off the ocean floor, making islands. And then there's one more area there that we're seeing, which I we call it global warming. Is there a debate? Is it happening or not? Well, I look at this. There's a lot of concrete in giant skyscrapers and roads that we have that society and man has built. And all of that is being built from sand. So if we're using sand to make concrete and we're pulling this silica out of the ground, well, doesn't it kind of look like if you look from like an aerial view, doesn't our world kind of look like a computer chip now? Where we got these heat index factors and the rebar that are metal inside the concrete, and now that's got to go somewhere, and that heat's going to be held and released just like a computer chip when it gets hot. So let's look at why I feel global warming is occurring. We have heat index factors from the concrete that we have out there. We've moved trillions of tons of concrete of sand out of the ground, and of course that has to go somewhere. So, are these earthquakes and and catastrophes that we're seeing? Could they be prevented? Well, possibly. We need to look at alternative materials to build our buildings. I think a wonderful thing is using hempcrete. We can grow hemp, mix it with a concrete, or we've seen plywood. Well, how about hempwood? Compressed hemp. There's an alternative there.
I've seen hemp wood. Of course, it's fireproof, and it's stronger and lighter. And I've also seen a rebar made of hemp, and it's stronger and lighter. There's some amazing materials out there. There's also a thing called Baratex, which a friend of mine is working on, and that is lava that's been ground up, and that's lighter and stronger than steel. And it's an amazing product. There's some great new technologies coming out, and I know you're working on a bunch of good ones. But
well, and then we like Iridium. We like to think of ourselves as a future-proof technology because we stay cutting. There's a company out there, BASF. Their tag was always BASF. We don't make things, we make things better. And they're a chemical company. Well, I like to tell everybody, Iridium, we make BASF better. We make things and we make things better. So there's a big difference there. Looking at some of the alternatives, you had mentioned, yes, building materials. I met a gentleman. He lives in kind of what is that, like Westwood, Beverly Hills kind of area there.
Yeah.
He's got a roadway system that is made. You ready for this? Glue. 8% glue, 92% dirt. It's as cheap to make as dirt. You take it's just like making concrete, except you take regular soil dirt, you throw it into a mixer, and then you throw a 55-gallon barrel of this. It's a polymer glue, and it mixes with the soil, gets moist and hardens, and you got something that is 3 times to 4 times stronger than asphalt, and twice as strong as concrete. And it's made of, like I said, dirt.
Well, let me stop you there. Let me stop you there. I worked with a company doing the exact same thing, working with an enzyme, and the enzyme is mixed in with the dirt, and it becomes a living it's become stronger than cement. And we built roads already with it in Africa and other places. And it is an amazing product that's far cheaper than asphalt or cement, stronger than both of them, outlives them all, and it can become stronger in time because the enzyme, and it depends, what the mixture is, what kind of dirt you have, but there has to be some percentage of clay in the dirt for this enzyme to react with it, and it becomes, again, stronger than cement.
Sitting on the side of the road, creating electricity and power. Isn't that neat?
Yeah, here's the thought I had. Why don't we embed the roads with magnets and put magnets on cars, and every time they're driving down the road, they're creating electricity.
Well, I like that. If we put magnets in the roads and then the opposite on the bottom of the cars, we can levitate them. I like that, actually. Here's an interesting power source, and I'm happy to give a free energy project away here on your show, Marty. Tesla came out with a electric semi, and Walmart's ordered 30 of them. Well, gee, that's nothing to get too excited about, but I guess if you're getting into the industry, awesome. You had a little bit of a sale. You're recouping some of your R&D, but quite frankly, 30 semis isn't going to make the company survive. Well, let's get real. However, I do think he has a remarkable semi. I just would use it for only one reason: generating power. So here you go, Elon. This one's for you. Take your semi, get yourself about 8 trailers behind it, take it out to a NASCAR track, and put on that trailer vertical windmills. When your truck is driving, turning left all day long at 55 miles an hour, you're creating a 55 mile an hour breeze on your flatbed trailer that you're pulling behind. Now, the Over Unity that we have here is a truck that can run, let's say, 200 miles, but it has its own power source behind it that can recharge those batteries. That's on the first trailer. You have 8 additional trailers that are being pulled around the track, and you've created around $20,000 worth of electricity per day. Not too shabby when you think about it, using a zero-emission semi to create a wind turbine. Who said windmills have to stand still, Marty?
What's the drag coefficient of if you're pulling that? Is it a lot of drag, or is it?
Once you get rolling at 55 miles an hour, and you got vertical windmill with stacked 3 high on 8 different trailers, you have Over Unity for the amount of energy that it took to pull the trailer. We've done some initial testing with a international diesel truck, and we were blown away by how much. We're spending almost $200 in diesel fuel to create $20,000 in electricity. So all you have to do is you run the cables underneath the trailers, and then to one trailer that is nothing but energy banks. So you stack them up. And so you come in with 4 trucks, you empty off the full energy banks, you replace them with empty ones as you're fueling up your truck, and go back out on the track. Well, that's just one truck. And obviously if we had, a good sized NASCAR track, you could have 30, 40 of these trucks circling in a 24-hour period. And we use many tracks out there are just sitting idle all day long.
Right.
So a great ways, a good place. You know, we can stack these windmills, vertical windmills. It doesn't matter, you know, really which direction the wind's coming from, and they spin. That's awesome.
How are we transferring the energy?
Well, then you put them into energy, battery banks. So that when the battery banks are full, you fork truck them off, and then you put the empty battery banks onto the trailer and plug them into the windmills.
You know,
that's simple.
Well, we do need to reinvent battery storage, because it is a lot about storage, not just creating. You know.
Yeah, well, and we've came a long way. Now we got some of these military grade battery banks. I mean, they're powerful. I mean, you can run amazingly long time with these. Lithium ions, they're doing a good job for short term. Now, there's a secondary thing after you got the battery bank hooked up. Well, then you run them through inverters. And when you run two, you're going to love this one. You can try it out on your boat, Monty. You take two inverters, okay, and you run them in parallel. And all you have to do, so let's say you got a 400-watt inverter, and you got a second 400-watt inverter. You plug one into the other. You know what? You still can't power, your table saws, stuff like that. You can fire up a laptop, but 400 watts, and then if you ran them in series, you're only getting 800 watts. Okay. Well, check this out. If you open them up, you take a small little sod and sod together both of the capacitors, and then put them back together. So you got two inverters sitting side by side with a wire connecting the inverters inside. That's it. Now you're running your inverters in parallel. So you're not using both of the plugs on the inverters. You're only using one of the plugs on the inverters, but you get, ready for this, 4 times the power. You got one 400-watt inverter that's now producing 1,600 watts of power. And all you have to do, again, is sod the capacitors together. Now we got 20,000 in our battery bank. Now let's take that times 4. We just created $80,000 worth of electricity per day. Not too shabby on a $300 expense in diesel fuel. And, of course, you got your maintenance on your truck and trailers and such like that. But the price is...
And you could do listen to this. Don't even hire a driver. You could probably use the Tesla technology to automate the truck to go around in circles. You don't even need a driver.
We're going around in circles here, people. We can use wireless unmanned trucks. Yes,
yep.
Absolutely right.
Oh, by the way, let me interrupt real quick before I forget. The product of mixing dirt with the enzyme is called Permazyme. And you could.
Permazyme, yeah, okay.
You know about Permazyme?
Not that particular one, but yeah, that makes total sense. Using enzymes that are hardening with a polymer. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool technology.
Now we got this semi that's going round and round, and right now we're going to use for this test. We're going to use we're going to use a diesel truck. Okay. Well, we're still polluting the atmosphere, so that's where Palladium comes in. We slap a couple of our anti-smog technology holograms on both fuel tanks. And now what do we have? We have a power plant that is generating $20,000 in electricity daily that has zero emissions coming from it. So that's a power plant with carbon allowances. Oh, That truck's going to make about 80 to 100,000 a year in carbon allowances. Well, that's almost half the price of the truck right there.
Yeah.
So now we're starting to have our little technology, our little holograms. People don't realize that in quantum mechanics, these are exponential savings. And when we couple them with existing technology and then add a couple of new ideas to it, why, the entire project doesn't cost anything. Isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got some solutions.
Marty, I got a consulting job here that I just pulled up on.
Okay.
Let's pick this podcast up next time.
You got it.
And let's talk about the dangers that I see coming in the telecommunication industry with 5G.
You got it.
Good?
Sounds good. Thanks, Thunder.
Always a pleasure, Monty.
Talk to you soon.
Let's just keep being fantastic, brother.
You got it. Be fantastic. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Monty. Bye-bye.